Hey guys, I'm Chris from Spartan Wealth Academy, and we've got a special guest with us today. It is Gaz. How you doing, Gaz?
Yeah, very good. You?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. So I've known Gaz for quite a while now, for a few years. We met through Siam, and it's actually I heard his story through that live you had with Siam, and instantly we started speaking, didn't we? We sort of reached out
Yeah.
to each other and just made a good connection straight away. And it's like you said, it's like we've known each other for for
Mm.
ages. You are like a
Yeah,
good
it's
mate
crazy.
now, and it was brilliant because obviously we live quite a way far apart, but on my little camper van trip, I managed to get down to your foot golf, and that was awesome. Meet you and you met my family, and it was just it was brilliant. Um, so, Gaz, did you want to introduce yourself and then start with your sort of origin story?
Jeez, I mean, how far back do you want to go? Like, oh, um, yeah. So I guess just 41. Jeez, 41. Still not got life figured out. Live down in sunny southeast Devon, so right on the coast, right on the Devon-Dorset border. Grew up with this as kind of my second home as a kid. Mainly grew up in Basingstoke with the old man working in the city. He was a trader, so he was up and down up to London every week, and then weekends we'd be down here, down in Devon, and summer holidays and Easters and the whole lot. My circumstances when I was up in Cardiff after uni and stuff changed pretty quickly. And when I went to uni, mum and dad said, right, we're going to move. So they moved down here. So then when I came home, it was then down to Southeast Devon. And then 15 years ago, I bought the house that I'm in now. Then met the missus and started a family and what have you. But up to that point, I was doing weird and wonderful stuff. So when I left uni, uni was leisure and sports management as a degree. Left there not having a clue what I was going to do. Got into doing gym instructing and then selling gym memberships. Reluctantly got into sales. That was never going to be my thing, but got into it just to earn a couple of quid and pay the debts, really.
Do you
Um,
think that do you, I know you said you were reluctant about that, but do you think that helped you in the future, like learning how to sell? Because that's quite a big thing
you
for
know what?
any business.
Yes, in a way, but no in another way. So yes, for building confidence.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I had horrific eczema, all in my eyes and all on my face and
Oh,
stuff. And
right.
socially, it challenged me,
Mm.
especially at university. That was my time to flourish, and I was just like I looked ill because it was that bad. I got
Blimey.
kicked out of a nightclub once for putting cream on my top lip, and they thought I was doing coke in the toilets. And I
Oh,
got
blimey.
beaten up and chucked out of the club. So I found uni a really tough time.
Yeah.
But when I got into the sales environment and when I came away from uni, my habits changed, my health changed, my outlook changed, the opportunities changed, and I had to properly fend for myself. I didn't have a penny to scratch my ass with,
Mm.
and I didn't want to tell my mum and dad how much debt I was in. So I kept it all to myself, and I lived on a crappy mattress on a floor in a rat-infested house, basically,
Bloody hell.
and just had to get on with stuff. And I think being forced into an environment where you actually have to show people your best side
Mm.
to then be able to make that connection and make that sale, that was a positive thing. The thing I didn't like was just the environment. It just wasn't for me.
Was it
So
quite
after trying
cutthroat, sort of just get the sale
maybe,
at any cost?
yeah, and the basic salary was just absolutely dog shit, and you just
Right.
have to sell, and it's just a numbers game. You
Yeah.
have to get the numbers in. It's just that whole typical funnel in it. You got to make 60, 70 calls a day. They want to see your call sheet, and then you've got to get X amount of appointments. Then you've got to convert however many appointments you make. And then if you don't do that, then you get your knuckles wrapped.
Yeah.
And in the end, I just kind of said, no, this ain't for me. This is ridiculous. Like you're made to forcefully sell something that actually not everybody wants.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier if you actually have a strong proposition that people naturally want and need and they see the value in it. And
Yeah.
actually, you don't have to then sell it. It's that conversation and people go, oh, I really trust them. I believe in them. It creates the bigger picture and stuff as well. So,
And you're sort of adding value to their lives then, aren't you? Like
yeah.
genuine value instead of just.
So I quickly stepped away from selling gym memberships and I went to sell alcohol instead.
Hey!
I worked for a
Cheers!
brewery. Yeah, I worked for a brewery for 3 years. That was quite interesting. I worked for Coors Brewers that own like Carlin and Grolsch and Wellington and that. So that was quite smart. So I did just sales in the office just to make easy money, and then got out on the road and what have you. But that was interesting because there was three big parts of that business to try and understand the tenanted pubs, And then the pub groups that I got involved in, and then the off trade as well, and actually the supermarkets.
Oh,
And it
right.
was fascinating to see. So I'd be sat downstairs with all the other reps and stuff, and they'd all be coming in, and everybody would be slashing their prices to get volume. But we'd be in competition with matey that was sat next to me trying to smash out volume in a supermarket, and I was trying to deal with be it the free trade or some of the pub group stuff, and it was ridiculous. So naturally that business struggled, and in the year that I left, the profit margin went from about 82 million quid down to about 50 million quid. So they offered up voluntary redundancy, and that's then when I moved back down here. So then I went from selling alcohol to selling drugs. I became a regional manager for a generic drug company, and I stuck that out for a year. And I was given all of Devon, Cornwall, Channel Islands. It's ridiculous. I just bought my house, and I was doing anything between 100 to 400 miles a day driving.
Whoa.
I just had no life. It was just shocking.
How many years were you working sales in?
So that was a year with the generic drug company, and then I thought, no, I just need some normality. So I went and got into what I thought was a booming industry at the time, in renewable energies.
Mm-hmm.
So I started selling underfloor heating and heat pumps. Did that for 3 years. Got kicked out because I set up a limited business, albeit dormant. But I had this grand idea that I was going to go off and do renewable energy kind of consultancy stuff. But it's one of those things. I had too much enthusiasm and too much naivety, and it caught me out big time. And they said, "Oh, we're going to have to discipline you." I said, "No, I'm off. See you later." And I had challenges with the managers there and stuff as well. I was managed really poorly. And then I got into doing solar PV stuff. I was unemployed for 4 months. Mrs. fell pregnant, which is brilliant, great timing.
Yes, it always happens at the worst times, man.
Shocking. And then I'd already planned to take her to New York for her birthday. That was her 30th birthday present. I was going to New York to propose to her with no money in the bank. I thought, God, how the hell am I going to do this? But yeah, we got to New York and I did propose. And then I got a job doing regional sales manager stuff for a big German solar PV company that I thought was the nuts. Like, the interview process was so arduous. And out of about 240 people that they interviewed the year previous, they only employed 10 people. So it was going to be pretty hard. But I managed to get the job with that company. And I got in there all excited, and it was shocking. I was like, geez, this is not cool. The sales manager, the commercial director, who was also acting as sales manager, said to me, right, Monday, 9 o'clock, we've got a sales meeting. I said, I live in Southeast Devon, like it's about 5 hours away. He said, that's fine, leave at 4, not a problem. I was like, okay, is this what you expect? He was like, yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, this guy's a fool. Like, where's there? Do you know what I mean? I'm all up for working hard. I don't mind that. But if that's the expectation from day one, I was thinking this ain't gonna be great.
No.
So, I lasted 5 months on that, and then I went to work for a solar PV company local. And just saying to you, Chris, a minute ago, that I got made redundant out of that after 11 months because of the change in the feed-in tariff and the solar PV industry. But yeah, I've always kind of been in business development and sales to an extent, or account management to an extent. But I soon realised that actually I just needed to go and make my own money. So when I left the solar PV game, I had my last paycheck that was also my commission. It was paid to me as a redundancy package, so I didn't have to pay tax on it. I bought the solar PV setup that's on my house now, which is pretty good. So I got a hell of a deal on that. And then thought, right, I've got money in the pot. Let's go and make some money doing my own thing. And that's when I got into doing log cabins, because I bought one for my own garden. And I thought, I reckon I can sell or source better, or sell better and install better. Not really a tradie, but I went out and bought the smallest little DeWalt set I could possibly find for about 150 quid. And I said, yeah, this is my business. This is what I'm doing.
Awesome.
I was a little unsure to start off with because he knew that I messed up a year or two previously trying to get something going. But I made so many errors when I first got into it. I did the whole typical thing of, I need to be looking the part. So let's order a load of hoodies. And let's get a nice logo. Let's get all the business cards.
Let's get some pens with my name on it. I
hadn't even made a sale. And that's like, I got it so wrong. You just need to get people to buy from you, first of all. But I know that anyway, but I just wanted to look the nuts. So, that was a steep learning curve. But that was when my oldest was 6 months old. I went self-employed. So that was pretty scary. So going into it with not a lot of money to start off with. The missus was still on maternity leave at the time, and when she went back, she was only doing 3 days, not 5 days. So our income was just nothing.
Yeah.
And I guess from that point,
That's a big leap, actually, Gaz. Doing that.
Mega.
Yeah.
I don't think my arse has stopped twitching, mate, since then. Seriously, it's well, we've had previous discussions, and we all know that life ain't easy. But when you put kids in the mix, and when you realise that your house isn't big enough, and when you remind yourself that you've just proposed and you're going to get married, I was doing everything. I was trying to build a business, trying to extend the house with my own money and my own time, trying to sort the family out. I was even up at like 2 o'clock in the morning making the stationery for my wedding. I can still hear the guillotine now.
Oh, God.
Like bloody zombie. Honestly, like just weird stuff you end up doing just to save a penny or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of lessons learnt with all that. Lots of lessons learnt. And I, stepping forward now to where I'm at, the cabin business has pushed to one side just because of the economic climate.
Yeah.
Pandemic didn't help. The whole situation in Russia hasn't helped because a lot of the cabin material came in from the Baltics, from Russia.
Right, yeah.
Competition out there anyway. The manufacturer changed the way they wanted to work. They went from privately owned to some big Dutch firm buying them out, and then the quality changed, and I was like, geez, this is hard to manage on my own. Like I had about 60, 70 different cabin styles and variations of that as well. So you could be having 130, 140 different prices to try and update on a website.
Yeah.
And after an 8-9 hour day on site and dealing with all the family life and everything else, to then sit in front of the computer and do pricing like that, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, you
just
didn't have any life.
Mate, I burnt out so quick.
Yeah.
But I held on to it because I had, this is something I guess has always been with me. I've had a real fear of failure and a fear of rejection.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same.
And I've grown to, in my teens and 20s and 30s, I was like, why am I not getting this right? I can't let this go. I can't let this fail. Even in relationships and businesses and all sorts.
Yeah.
And it's only now, literally only now, over the last couple of years, do I realise how massively important and positive failure actually is.
Yeah.
You just have to grab it by the balls and work on it really quickly, and don't take it personally.
Exactly.
It's like, as you know, Siam says about it. Siam says about learn, pivot, do. It's exactly that.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant phrase. That is. Siam's awesome anyway, but actually that he really helped me with accepting failure, because when you hear all these people that are doing really well and things like this, that's all you ever hear. That's you only hear that they're doing good and everything's booming. I'm always happy. Blah 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 blah. No money worries at all. And then Siam come along, found Siam, and he was saying about how he's fucked up so many times it's unreal. He's like, sometimes his cash flow is horrendous. And you start realising that this isn't just him. He's not just the anomaly. This happens to everyone.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you feel a bit better. It's like, but he doesn't let failure overcome him. And I used to have a massive fear of failure, massive fear of it. I couldn't let anyone see that I was failing. And that's because I cared too much about what people thought as well.
Yes. I was in exactly that position as well, and I think I don't mind sharing with you and everybody else as well that I really struggled with anxiety over the last probably 4 years through not just my own circumstances and stuff, but through a couple of other things I had no control of, but it was pretty directly linked and what have you to me. And I thought I was the one with the issue. I've always been a bit of a people pleaser. I've always gone out of my way to try and make that friendship. And I think possibly that stems back from my university times, from my eczema and my challenges like that. I felt that I had to try and, if I didn't look well, I had to be well in my head and be there as a good friend and have high morals and standards and stuff, which is fine. But when you get into that cycle of always trying to please others, who's the one person you forget about?
Yeah.
It's yourself, isn't it? Yeah. So I gave a lot of myself to others. The expectation was then, well, it's all right. Gaz can do that. Well, Gaz will be there. And then when I kind of took a step back from it, I soon realised that, geez, I was not doing the right thing at all. I was not looking after myself well. So yeah, it's quite good that all that's changed. But the one thing it's really helped me with through my struggles, and I guess this might be true for a lot of people. I soon realised that actually I didn't need any more. That I didn't need to be connected with more. Whilst I felt that I was going through a lot of areas of shortcomings in my life, that's only because I benchmark it against those that have so much more.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what book I was reading at the time or listening to, but it was talking about just materialistic things. And I soon realised that my desire for more just isn't there, because I actually appreciate so much more when I have less.
Yeah.
So it goes back to that whole thing of like building on your foundations, like what's important to me.
Yeah.
Isn't actually anything like it used to be. I don't wear any jewelry. All right, I've got a wedding ring, but I don't wear my wedding ring. It's too precious, so that's in the drawer. I don't have a watch. I don't have expensive clothes. I don't have an expensive car. I don't have a flashy house. Whilst it looks all right in the background, that's just some lick of paint and a few decorative items. It's not big. It's nothing exciting. But everything that I have, I'm so pleased with it because I've kind of doubled down and got this heightened level of gratification. And now I've mastered what gratification is for me. I feel so much more fulfilled. And now I'm fulfilled, I can now spend my time appropriately with the people that are going to lift me rather than pull me down. And although I haven't got my shit fully sorted now, I know that if I spend the right time with the right people, the right thing will happen at the right time. And I can embrace it, and it will mean so much more because I won't be going out and spending that money on all these unnecessary things that I know aren't going to lift me anymore. So it's I'm only very much at the infancy of everything, like 41 years old, still not got it sorted. But I think I had to go through my own level of suffering and pain to work out what's truly important for me.
Yeah. And that I think you've hit the nail on the head there as well with you realising that you're fulfilled. So many people, me included, have always chased the money. I just want the money. But you have no idea why you want the money. You just actually, I think I watched an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he was saying about people. He thinks it's a flawed logic. People sort of going for the pursuit of happiness. He said because, as we all know, life is suffering, and if you can accept the fact that life is suffering, it actually helps you a lot more because you're more hardy to it. But where your pursuit of happiness, you're wanting to be happy, and then when you get there, you don't want that to end, and that will never happen in your life ever. So he said you should actually be pursuing something more meaningful. Don't pursue happiness. Pursue something meaningful, because something meaningful can drag you through fucking hell, but still be meaningful. You're still doing something that is either good or helping someone, or And I think again where you are with your sort of fulfillment, I've started mapping out my life of how I actually want it, not how I think other people should be looking at me and thinking I should have it. Like I'm not saying I wouldn't like a Lambo. I think everyone would like a Lambo, but it's not important to me. That I can live without a Lambo. It's not important to me. Actually, I've found my importance, or my so what's precious to me and my driving force is my family. I want them to be happy and secure. And actually, I'm working to where the level you're at the moment, where you get to spend time with your boys. Now that is, to me, that's gold. That's better. That's Bitcoin. It's better than Bitcoin. And I want to get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back on a couple of the bits that you said about Jordan Peterson and stuff as well, and about purpose. I follow a guy called Simon Squibb, he's popular. Simon Squibb, and then he's got this thing called the Purposeful Project. I think that's bloody brilliant.
Oh, I've not seen the Purposeful Project.
In anything, but to lead with a purpose is the ultimate. Yeah. It's absolutely ultimate, because you can only ever achieve positive things from that. The money will come in time, of course, but to be able to wake up in the morning with purpose. Yeah. Like the amount of jobs I've done previously, and I've woken up and felt anxious. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I have to go out to work because I have to earn this money, because I've got to uphold this whatever it is, and I've got to be out at the weekend drinking, and I've got to be seen to be doing whatever it is. No, bollocks. There's have you ever heard of Alan Watts? He was I can't remember when he died. It was like in the 70s or 80s or something. If you ever type into YouTube Alan Watts and see some of his lectures that have been kind of re-edited into some sort of like video type stuff. One of his ones that I really like, he talks about what if money were no object, and he said it's like all wretch and no vomit. So if money were no object, what would you do? Well, you'd only be doing the things that fire you or that you're interested in.
Yeah.
He said, but how many people do the things they don't like to earn the money that they don't need, to buy the things that they don't want, to impress people they don't like?
Yeah.
And it's that negative cyclical cycle.
Yeah.
And so many people are in it.
Yeah.
And I think if I've learned anything since going self-employed, the ability now for me to say either yes or no comes so much easier. But I don't have to do things. And if people say why, well, I don't have to give an answer. Well,
Yeah.
only maybe to the wife, but largely in part, even if it's customers or whatever, like I don't have to say, oh yeah, of course, yes, I'll do that. Well, nobody's cracking the whip on me. I actually think to myself before I make any answer on it and confirm stuff to people. I think, does this serve me well? If the answer is no, in my head, I'm thinking, well, of course I'm not going to do it because I can't see any plus side of it. Money is not the thing that drives me now.
Yeah.
Of course, it's nice to have, but I'm almost conditioned to the point of money isn't that important.
No.
It's not my pure driving force.
No.
And you'll get this, Chris, as well. You'll get this more than me, I think, just because of your experiences. But when you have children in particular, and you have the need to be there for them through their own challenges and stuff, to have the ability to give them your time, your undivided time and attention, and to give them that love and support, done. That's my job done.
Yeah.
It really is for the minute.
Yeah.
And I'm making sure that my environment enables me to be able to do that. And I know there's some people that have got plenty of money and plenty of time, and they've only fathomed that out, or they've got to that place probably because they've worked their arse off or found their purpose maybe in their 20s before having kids.
Yeah.
But I didn't find my purpose. I misdirected myself and I went off on totally the wrong bloody angle.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I take full ownership and responsibility for that.
Yeah.
But now with my boys the way they are and stuff, and we were just talking literally around the dining room table last night about what makes them happy. And Alf's my little one, 7 years old. He said, "Oh, Daddy, football makes me happy, and tennis and basketball." I was like, "Yeah, okay, but what else, mate?" He went, "Well, rock pooling, that makes me happy. When we go rock pooling, when you take me out there and we do crabbing and stuff as well." I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And he was like, "What else, Alf?" He goes, "Family makes me happy." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And he said, "Well, because sometimes the older ones, they're going to die, aren't they? So we need to spend time with family." I said, "Okay, that's cool." And then Will's chipped in as well. And Will said, "Things that make me happy is probably spending time with you, having the time with you." And he didn't once say, "Oh, it's my Xbox or it's whatever else." It was just the time element of it. And I thought to myself, this is pretty cool. I'm obviously doing something right.
100%.
They're leading with that. So that was quite a relaxed conversation. I wasn't putting them totally on the spot, but that's actually genuinely what they felt was important. It wasn't all the whatever.
Materialistic stuff.
Yeah,
And
luxury.
yeah. And I think you can, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was materialistic when I was younger, but I certainly spent my money and I knew how to. And so, but I've often found that the people that, this might just be, it is a massive generalisation, but I do it for the people I've met. I often find when they're all talking about, yeah, so I went out and got this Range Rover, or I went out and got this bag, or this suit, or this thing. It is literally there just to try and impress me or people around them. And I just think I think that's kind of sad sometimes, you know.
Something missing in them. There must be something missing.
It is. It's like they don't have that fulfillment. They don't have that meaning. They're just chasing the money. And then on the flip side, I've met very wealthy people that have got meaning. And what you often find, or what I have found, is it was the meaning that they had in the beginning, and money was the byproduct of that meaning. So that I've met people that just love business. They just love it. They love the sort of the game of business. It was never about the money. It was about just how can I make this work? Can I get this thriving? Can I get that doing? And then the money was become the byproduct of that, and they become wealthy that way. And actually, those people, you don't really see them in. They're clapped out cars, and they're just.
And you know what?
As the
the most attractive people, or the most attractive thing about people like that is that they don't have the ego. I cannot get my head around characters that have got these big egos. Yeah. I'm just like, I'm so done with it. So done with it. And I think once your values align, everything is easy. Communication, relationships, everything. It's probably how we get on so well, because it does seem that our values are pretty similar with the way that we look after our families and some of our background stories and the way that we make money on the side and whatever.
100%.
Like that. I like people that don't have an ego, and that's much like Siam. I don't see an ego in Siam at all. I mean, I think he's amazing.
Yeah,
his stories, his ability to just look at the numbers, look at the charts, and understand money is something I absolutely admire. And I think whilst I'm in this position I'm in at the minute, I have to reprogram my brain and think, oh, it's not fair. I want that, because it ain't about that. I sit there and go, Jesus Christ, I can learn a lot from this guy. And whilst I'm learning how to be happy with what I have, if I can just take a few nuggets from a few people, one thing is gonna make an impact on the way that I do business, or set me up in a year or 2 or 5 or 10. And it's as we were saying earlier on as well, Chris, just before going live, this whole thing of delayed gratification as well. Like, I was too bloody impatient when I was younger. I was way too impatient. And now I'm actually thinking, do you know what? I'm cool. I'm all right. Doesn't have to be now. Doesn't have to be next year. Like I don't know if you remember, when I was chatting on Siam's Live that time, and you boys were in the background. Yeah. I was on my mower, wasn't I? And I was riding around the field at the same time. I came on and I spoke and I said to Siam, oh yeah, there should be about 40 grand in the pot coming into that year. Never happened. Never happened. Well, you know what I ended up doing with some of that money as well. I thought I made a clever investment, and didn't quite pan out like that. So that was a real tough lesson. So the money, that 40 grand was, it didn't end up being 40 grand. And then there's a few other things that ended up happening, a few more bits of bad luck along the way as well. But that's all right, because I'm patient. I could get really upset about it all, but it's not a problem. Again, it goes back to that whole failure thing. Like, it's a really important lesson for me to kind of initially feel like that. Was the right emotion to have. But again, I listened to somebody else, I can't remember who it was now, but he said, I think it was it might have even been Tom Hanks actually, on an Instagram thing, and he's been interviewed, and he just says, it too shall pass. So that moment of elation, embrace it, because it too shall pass. Or that moment of absolute desperation when your back's up against the wall, try not to take it too personally, because it too shall pass. Whether it be that day, that week, that month, whatever it is, but just let it flow, let it go, and it too shall pass. So that's that's the mentality I had to try and fathom out when it came to making that big balls up. The hardest bit for me really was saying to the wife, that money that I said I would double, triple, quadruple, it's looking like it's not there anymore. It's like, what's ridiculous? That could be that car. I was like, yeah, I know, but not that I was going to buy a car anyway, but you're quite right. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I was like, well, don't forget, I can pick the tools up. She said, yeah, but you don't like that, do you? I said, I know I don't, but I have an ability. I will pick the tools up again. I will pay the bills. Don't worry about it. So again, that's what I'm doing. And the foot golf is always there. So it's quite nice to have it as a seasonal thing that I can kind of dip in and out of.
So can you tell people about the foot golf, how that actually came about?
Yeah. So, Will's, my eldest, was 7 years old, and you know what kids' birthday parties are like. Once they've been to one place, they've all been there, and it gets boring, doesn't it? So it was like, right, we need to do something different. So we were actually driving in a coastal town 30-40 minutes away from where I live, and we drove past a foot golf. So I said to Will, knowing that he's mad into football, I said, let's go and check it out, mate. So we had a quick knock around there, and he said, oh, Dad, this is awesome. I said, well, you can bring all your mates here, mate, if you want, for your birthday party. So we did. We took him and his 10 football mates, had a hoon around there, and he absolutely loved it. And I said, Will, do you think Daddy should have one of these? He was like, yeah, do it. And I thought, I reckon I could probably set something up, local to home, maybe a little bit better, in the vibe that I want to do with it. So I've kind of made a little few inroads, and I knew there was some land available that's actually got a covenant on it to say it has to be used for leisure and recreation. It's leased by the town council. So I approached the town council and said, look, I've got an idea. And all these old councillors, it was like bloody Vicar of Dibley in the council meeting. Yeah, what was it? No, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know what field golf is? No, yeah.
Yes.
I've put this proposal together and kind of just stood up and said my 3 minutes and said, look, this is something I think I can make work up in this field. So yeah, long story short, they gave me a 3-year agreement, 3-year rolling lease to set up a foot golf course. I needed a bit more out of the lease time to give a bit more kind of security for the business, but that's all they'll ever give a concession, which is a bit of a pain. So I just kind of did what I could do with it. There was already a building that was in the land and stuff, so I gave it a lick of paint and put a picnic area out there and made it look pretty. I thought, oh yeah, it'd be all right. I just kind of cut the grass, put some holes in the ground. It ain't going to take long. It took me forever. It cost me a fortune. Oh, God.
Those dreaded words.
I ended up buying something like 100 footballs, so that's 800 quid.
Yeah.
Signs, just a few basic signs, 400 quid.
Yeah.
A couple of tins of paint, a couple of 100 quid.
Mowers.
There was just stuff, more and more stuff. It kept on coming and coming and coming. But it's one of those things as well. Going back to delayed gratification, I soon realised, and the learnings from messing up with that first business I tried to do, I realised that actually you don't need to look perfect from day one. You just have to get the bloody gates open and get people in there. And I did. First day, 120 quid. But I didn't actually open it until the June. I'd missed Easter because I was busy doing like a load of cabin work and composite decking projects and stuff. And I was up against it with that. So I opened late, but in this short period I was open, it made like 15 grand and it broke even. I think it cost me 9 grand to get open and functioning in its first season, and it turned over 15.
Fucking hell,
and
that's
then,
good.
Yeah, it's really good.
So in not a lot of time, it made its money back. And then I don't know what the second year was, like 20, 25, and then it was 35. So I mean, this year should be 35, 40k as well.
And how long's your seasons? For
so it goes. It's basically April till October.
Brilliant.
So I open for weekends and school holidays. The whole thing of midweek down here just doesn't work. There's just not the demographics.
Yeah.
It's a really touristy hotspot. So yeah, we kind of thrive on all the tourism down here. There's quite a lot of grey pound as well. So those that are in their 60s and 70s don't really want to be coming up to a field and kicking a football ground. It's fascinating. You do actually get a few of them. We had a lady up there last year about 95, and she ended up whacking it around with a bloody walking stick.
Legend.
Interesting. But yeah, you get all ages and abilities and stuff, but really it's just kind of focused on families. So you've got to really smash it out for the holiday period. But yeah, like last year, I just got all my accounts back a few months back, and it was netted 25k. So it's not, it's all right. It's not a massive money earner, but it was never about that. The main point of doing it was to break the cycle of something I was falling out of love with, which was being on the tools and doing the cabins and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus wanting to show the boys, my 2 boys, what it is to actually set something up from nothing.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of give them the gist of actually, you can do the simple things and do it really well, and you can make a bit of money.
Yeah.
I could have just bought a big mower and gone out and cut grass, because that's in essence all I do now.
Yeah.
Within reason. There's a few other bits to do, but I cut grass once a week, twice a week maybe. But that's it. You were just exchanging time for money. And I wanted to create something that was bigger than me. So having the foot golf now available, especially for the summertime, whilst the missus works, I've got the boys. Well, the gates don't open till 10 o'clock. So I go up there and whatever, like sort the tuck shop out, or I might have been on the mower early in the morning or something. But then I've got someone to staff it for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't take any cash. There's only card. So that's really easy to manage. Simple to lock up. So there's not a lot I need to be doing. So really, I can go up there in the morning. The boys might come with me as well. If not, I could be home for 10:30. Well, I'll be down the beach. I'll be rock pooling and fishing and down at our beach with the boys and spending all my summer holidays doing all the things I used to love doing as a kid. And this is now all the stuff that my boys tell me they love doing. So what's really exciting as well is that some days they're pretty juicy. So the best day we've ever had, I was rock pooling with the boys, and it made 1,130 quid in a day. I didn't do anything. I didn't
That's
even cut
awesome.
the grass.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't cut the grass for 2 weeks because it was summertime. The grass wasn't growing, so I actually didn't do much. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
You can have a 400, 500, 600 quid day, and you can get consecutive days like that. You can have a week like that. So it's
awesome, isn't it? Yeah,
it does all right. It does all right. And then off the back of that, September, especially like this year, my oldest going to secondary school. I wanted to be sure that I was around for him. Plus, I've been doing the house up as well. I've done all the little boys' room up. I gutted all that, went all the way back to basics, re-insulated it, reboarded it, new ceilings, new lightings, like that. Everything is brand new in it, and also the landing. So I was doing that as my little project for 6 weeks or so. And then my eldest needed me as well, and the wife, because he was having some challenges with school stuff. He developed like motor tics 18 months ago, and they got really bad when he started secondary school because of his anxiety and new surroundings, lots of pressure. So his neurological system was all over the place. Thankfully, we got him referred real quick, and it so worked out that he was diagnosed with having Tourette's. So it's quite a learning curve as a parent. Well, it's a learning curve for him, but there's a learning curve as a parent. It's not easy. And Chris, I know that you know a thing or two about it as well. When your back's against the wall and your kids need you, like to be able to be there. For me, that was the one thing, possibly in my life, that I thought, you know what, I'm really proud of myself for actually setting something up that gives me now the flexibility to go and do that, to do the house and be there for him at the same time and pay the bills. So it's probably the only time I've actually felt like I was getting somewhere.
That's awesome. And that's the thing. It's so much more than money. Success is so much more than money.
Massively so.
It's health, wealth, happiness, family, you know, like, and actually it's quite a balancing act. I often suffer from getting tunnel vision and getting too much into businesses and things like this. And at the neglect of my family, unfortunately, because you're putting your time into that, you're not putting your time into them. And that's why I love listening to you, because it makes me reevaluate things sometimes. You know, it's important to remember that it's not all about the money. Like I'm not doing it just for the money because I'm a greedy person. The outcome is I want the money so I can provide better for my family. But like you said, you can actually provide just as well for them with your time. And in fact, you said something the other day when we were speaking about you're not prepared to trade your time for money now because it's their time. And I love that. And that actually hit me when you said that. It pulled something in my soul.
But you know, I think it's one of those as well, though, mate. It's if you do the little things well, it's more powerful than just doing the big things or going out there and trying to do the big things. And it's like I'm there every morning. I don't rush out the door. I leave at 8:30. So my boy goes off to school at 8, gets the bus. The other boys sometimes will walk up. I'm really close to the school anyway, so I can just almost chuck him out the back gate and we're right to the school fields and stuff. So I can do all of that. So I'm part of the school run. I'm there in the mornings. I'm there for the routine and stuff. I'm there to help the wife out so she gets the best out of her day. Brilliant. So it's just that little bit of not feeling under pressure, just doing the crap that you don't want to do. Yeah. I want to be there for my boys, and we're big into boundaries and values as well. I think with all of my anxiety and what have you, I soon realised that the reason why I was feeling the way I was is that people were trying to change my boundaries, and I thought, hang on a minute, like my values are so strong. And my boundaries, they protect my values. So I think what I needed to turn around is basically confidently turn around to people and say, just fuck off. Yeah. Like, as aggressive and as rude as it is, like, I now don't have any time for any drama. I don't have any time for people that aren't going to lift me up. Because I'll pay it forward. I'll always help people where I can do. Yeah. Without the expectation of others doing it. I don't look to do something and think, okay, that has to be reciprocated. But it's just good karma, isn't it, really? Yeah. And I think look out for anybody, even a stranger.
But where we're quite agreeable people, like I think me and you are very similar, and actually I think Tom's quite similar as well. Where we're quite agreeable people, and we're quite, like you said, people pleasers. again, that's something I've struggled with because I do that at my detriment sometimes. And
Yeah.
I've had to literally tell myself, you have to be a prick sometimes. Because you will give too much of yourself away, and unfortunately, you'll become a doormat, and you'll get walked all over. So, yeah, I've struggled with that before, getting a fine line between helping someone and then right, I'll help you, but this is something you could do. Like I'm I'm being sort of taken advantage of now.
Yeah.
Because I think, and then realizing that actually sometimes the biggest help to people is making them realize they can help themselves. And yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's something I've definitely struggled with, and I think that goes into the sort of anxiety as well with well, being anxious with certain projects or yeah, just meeting people in general.
See,
I think as well though, because your trade background as well, when you have a particular skill and you have an eye for detail, you want to always do it to the best of your ability. And it only takes one person to think that you're 100% is actually only 90%, and they're totally devaluing your skill set or knowledge or experience.
Or fucking
And
option.
I always felt, oh my God, because again, it goes back to that people pleasing thing. I thought, oh my God, if my 100% is not good enough, I've got to give 110. Nah, no chance. I'm 100% in on everything, and if you don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah.
Because you won't find anybody else that's more truthful or that's more dedicated or that's, I don't know, just more consistent with it.
And have you
Yeah,
found that
100%.
hard getting over that? Or do you still struggle with it now even?
No, do you know what? I don't, because the foot golf has enabled me to take a step back, and people say, oh, you should this and you should that. And I'm saying, why should I? Like, you ain't doing this. So who are you to tell me what I should do?
Yeah.
The foot golf is an extension of me. Yeah, I know I could do a lot more, but actually you don't know the ins and outs of the business. You don't know the ins and outs of how much cash flow I've got, or you don't know how long I've got left on the lease or whatever. People come up and say, oh, you should do coffees. I say, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, maybe I should. But I ain't got any electricity. So for me to get electricity into the field, that's probably about 50 grand.
Yeah.
Then to buy a coffee machine, then to do the health and safety, then to get the food hygiene and everything else,
Yeah.
and train staff.
It's so much more
that's
than
gonna
people
cost me-
realise.
Let's say it's going to cost me 60k to serve you a coffee for £2.50 and make a quid off it. Nah, do one. Do you know what I mean? Cost us down the road. So, yeah, I found it easier now going into the foot golf.
Good.
and being detached from stuff. But there's things like, even just over the last number of months, I thought, you know what, I'm going to be kind on myself. I'm going to go and do something that's so simple as painting and decorating. I mean, mind you, painting and decorating isn't simple if you're going to be really good at it. There's a lot more to it. But I quite enjoy that. And I think I've always been somebody that likes to see something physical. I like to be able to take something from looking rubbish to looking amazing and being paid fairly for that. And that's just the way I've always been. My brain isn't in tune with being able just to make money off a laptop. I need to get that way. I really do. But yeah, I'm not quite there with it as yet. But yeah, I think the breakaway to do something different like this foot golf has been a big help to me. A big thing, mentally and stuff as well. And it's what's really lovely about it is people come up and go, God, this is amazing. Or, oh, I never knew this was here. Or, oh, my mate said it was good, and I've come up here for the first time, and oh yeah, they're not wrong. Oh, I'm going to tell more people about it. So it's lovely when something then has this organic growth to it as well, because that is if anything's gonna boost your confidence, that's certainly something that does.
Well, like I'm gonna have a bias here because we're friends, but when I did come to the foot golf for the first time, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was actually going to expect. I sort of just showed up and I was like, "Oh, well, I'm at the foot golf."
You went down the wrong lane first of all. Tell everybody that. You had to,
3-point turn in a massive motorhome or camper van, unreal. But when I eventually did find you, I remember walking up, and then because you sort of don't really properly see it until you get up that hill, do you? It's like a small little hill that you sort of walk up towards the entrance. And then when I got there, I just thought, this looks awesome. Like, I love the sort of Santa Cruz type style you've got. I love it. I think it just works so well with the area. we had a fantastic time. The whole family had a fantastic time at the foot golf, and I genuinely think it's done really, really well. And I would be honest with you if I thought there's something I'd change about it, or I thought was a miss, because obviously I want to help you out. But I genuinely thought it was brilliant. We had a fantastic time, and what was nice about it is straight after that we could just literally hop over the road to the park and ride. It cost like, I can't remember. I remember thinking, this must, for what I paid, this must just be for one person. But no, it's for the whole family to get on this park and ride, and then into Lyme Regis, and that place is incredible as well. You know, so you can make a real good day out of it. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
It was.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's. I just wish I owned the bloody land. That's the only challenge. I really wish I had an old pitch and putt with a proper clubhouse where I could serve burgers and pizzas and beer and multiple streams of income. Then, but it's a real shame that it is what it is. Yeah. And I know that it ain't going to be any more than that. So there's good and bad about that. So it's good because it's a nice little Brucey bonus come the end of the year. I'm going to treat it this year in particular as my savings pot. So I'm going to still mess around with the tools and work on people's houses and stuff to earn a few quid, because that can pay all right anyway. Yeah. So that'll pay the bills, and then the foot golf should hopefully accumulate a bit of a pot. That my intention, whether I see it through or not, but my intention is then to try and put that into another business, whether I set something up or whether I then look to acquire something somehow. I don't quite know, but it would be nice to know that there is, even if it's just 20 grand, 30 grand, sat there that I go to somebody more experienced. Another guy who I follow, who I've followed him for years, is a guy called James Sinclair. He's known as the Millionaire Clown, but he's well worth following. He is mega. He owns farm parks, day nurseries. He's just bought an ice cream brand.
Yeah, I know the guy now. Yeah,
mate, yeah, absolutely. He is mega. His whole backstory is fantastic, but the way he does business is just on a different level. So I follow people like him, and he does few different seminars and stuff and about business acquisition. And I'm interested to create the time, and now I know I'll have the money to actually go and sit there and listen to somebody like that with all the knowledge, because I'll be in the right brain space for it as well then. Yeah. So again, I don't need it to be now, but I know that someone like that I admire, and I know I could learn a thing or two about him. So I need to be in that sort of environment whenever it is, maybe winter time or something. Awesome. When the foot golf's done. So that's the master plan, and build from there. And I need to look back into crypto. As you know, Chris, I did have a dabble. Yeah. 1 minute it was brilliant, the next minute it was horrific. Yeah. And I wobbled mentally. I wobbled like shit on the back of that. Yeah. And I knew I'd made a big boo-boo. So the only way to really get myself back onto it is take myself well away first of all. Yeah. Be patient, because it ain't going anywhere. No. And we're still trending downwards. Like we might not be at the bottom yet. Yeah. So I'm just going to watch it. I'm not overly precious. And again, it goes back to the whole thing of gratification and fulfillment. Yeah. Yeah. I could have £1 million in the bank now, and I don't think he says. But if I had £1 million, I might be a lot more happy and flashy on it. I genuinely don't think it would change me that much. No. It's a little bit like, so today marks 29 months of no alcohol. Yeah. So brilliant. For me, it would be like, I can be in a pub with a load of mates getting pissed, and I don't have to drink. So like, I could have £1 million in the bank and I wouldn't have to spend the money. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, now, yeah. Because I just don't need things. Like my missus is always saying to me, "Oh God, you really need some new clothes." Well, this is like the best thing in the wardrobe. Yeah, right? You keep it on for as long as possible. Yeah, but yeah, I look at stuff. I go, okay, I'll have a look. So I'm looking on my phone at night, and I go, yeah. She goes, "Oh, what's in the basket?" And I share, and I'm thinking, that's £250. I don't need any of that. No, I don't bother. I don't press the checkout button at all. I never do. Yeah, never do. So the drinking. So the drinking. Sorry, Tom.
That's right. I was just saying, it's not important, is it? When you know what you want, that's it. You can be successful just by reaching whatever goal it is, whether that's like you say, spending time with your family, or even if this is trying to save £10 a month or whatever it is. If you reach your goal, you're working your way to your success, isn't you?
100%.
Yeah, it's just solely focusing on the things that are important to you. So I have to show my phone a minute. So this is another reason actually why I've gone into doing a bit of painting and decorating, right? So I listen to a few different podcasts and audiobooks. So I try and use my time wisely rather than just listening to crap music and rubbish news and get involved in all those things or have an opinion on all those things that you actually can't have any control on.
Yeah.
I always say to my missus, control the controllables.
Exactly that. Yeah.
As sad as some of the news is and stuff, it's largely the stuff I don't need to hear because it just doesn't serve my head well at all. So I end up listening to podcasts and audiobooks. So on my notes section, I don't know if you can see it. This is my notes, right? So anytime I hear something that I think is of interest, I write it down.
Brilliant.
When I've got another spare moment, often when I'm sat in the toilet, rather than looking at social media, I'll look through these things just to remind myself of some of the key focus things.
Love that.
So it's like some of them have an attitude of gratitude. Yeah, finding purpose grows self-esteem. What's this one? You hold the pen and there are 1,000 empty pages. It's time to write your story. Yeah, because we often find that actually we have not got any control of it. But actually, when you realise that you do hold the pen and you can kind of create your own path on stuff.
Yeah, you can definitely.
What if? Like I used to be in a thing of like, oh my god, what if this fails? What if this just doesn't go right? Okay, well flip it around. Well, what if it does go right?
Exactly that. Yeah,
is a success.
Yeah.
What if that next person that you talk to offers you that break that you've been looking for? Well, I don't know. I've got all these different things, and this is like.
And it all serves a purpose, a positive purpose for you, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing.
Absolutely, and it's all about being in the right brain space, just to make the most of everything. So I had this thing when I turned 39. I was not worried about turning 40, but I thought, geez, I don't want to turn 40 on a back foot. Like I was struggling at 39. I thought, right, I need to do a few different things. So I started writing out a few little goals. And I don't truly believe in goals because I think that's an opportunity for failure rather than opportunity for success.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to create habits to an effect, but I had to try and hold myself accountable. And I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
It so worked out that the number 13 came up in everything. I had 13 different points linked to the number 13 because many people think it's unlucky. So I thought, let's just play on that. So one was to get to 13 stone. I haven't been 13 stone since just after uni, just one thing and another. And I used to train loads at uni because that was the only way I could get my kind of relief and stuff with my skanky face and stuff. I thought, well, okay, if I've got a skanky face, I might as well have a fit body.
Yeah.
I spent all my time in the gym rather than at lectures, and that's why I didn't really do that great at uni, I think. But, so I wanted to get to 13 stone. I wanted to run a half marathon. I wanted to listen to 13 different podcasts or audiobooks. I wanted to go sober for 13 months, and now I'm 29 months sober. I smashed 13 stone within literally a couple of months. I really got onto that one.
Awesome.
One real wintry, bloody freezing morning, I shoved my headphones in. I started listening to a book and I ran 30 miles. Pretty easy. And then I train more and more and more on that. So this whole thing of like taking charge of it and being more in control was a massive eye opener for me. And then the podcasts and the audiobooks were just brilliant. And it actually so happened that, do you know Steve Bartlett's got the Diary of a CEO?
Yeah.
Have you listened to his podcast?
I've not listened to it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Oh, mate. Not everybody's going to like Steve Bartlett because he's high street media stuff now. But before he got on Dragon's Den and before he was big or what have you, I started listening to some of his work, and it is revolutionary. So his book, Happy Sexy Millionaire, was a game changer for me. At the end of his book, his closing comment is, "You are enough, and you always have been," or something to that effect. And I thought, Jesus Christ, how profound is that? He's absolutely bang on. I am enough. Why am I even doubting myself?
Yeah.
But anyway, I listened to a few other podcasts, and one of them was with a guy called Ben Williams, who ex-Royal Marine. Well, he needed, before his time in the Marines, he nearly committed suicide. And he saw an advert on YouTube for the Marines, and his granddad was the one that was his kind of top influencer, and he thought, geez, if my granddad was in the army, then maybe that's what the type of thing I want to do. Anyway, he got into the Marines, and he came away from drugs and drink and any of his kind of suicidal thoughts and bits and bobs, and he carved a path for himself in the Royal Marines, and he passed out after the Real Intense training down in Lympstone, which is only just down the road from here. Funny enough, it's directly off the first football course where I took Wills, my eldest.
Right.
He served 10 years there. He went to Afghanistan. He'd obviously seen and been part of some horrific situations out there. He'd lost a number of his close colleagues. He got discharged, I think it was on a hearing, something or other. I think he had a hearing issues from wartime. But then he got into doing coaching stuff. He actually then coached. He set up a coaching business with one of his Marine colleagues, and he ended up coaching England football team before they had that success at the Euros and did so well at the Euros. And he was telling this whole backstory is and what have you, and it was just mega. And I then started following him on Instagram, and I got his audiobook, and it was his audiobook I was listening to when I ran my first half marathon. And I then realised actually he lived pretty local, so he lives half an hour down the road.
No way.
So I put a shout out to him, and I contacted him, and I said, look, I've listened to your podcast, I've listened to your audiobook. This is changing my attitude and mindset on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just want to say thanks, a big shout out and stuff. I said, oh, have you ever run any of the cliffs and the coastline and stuff around here? He said, oh, mate, I used to do it all the time when I was training with my rucksack on my back and stuff. I was like, look, if you ever want to run, let us know. And we didn't for some time, but then we did actually catch up like a number of months back, and I ended up buying him a breakfast, and we went out for a run and stuff, and it was mega. So
awesome.
all from a podcast, wanting to change my own headspace, I was then connected with somebody that was got a pretty awesome history to him, and he's got the most incredible future ahead of him as well.
Yeah.
He's got a company set up again with his old colleague called Lupin, and they're doing a lot to do with mental health in the workplace. Mate, his story's epic, and his book is amazing. It's called Commando Mindset. So if you ever want a good read, especially on audiobook, because it's him talking about it, it's him narrating it and stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
And there's some actionable steps in there as well.
Yeah.
It's an eye opener. He talks about I can't remember what he calls it now. There's a blue door. He talks about this blue door when he was going out to war, and the Taliban were kind of just on from this wall. There was this blue door that they just had to go through to then go and fight the Taliban. And so he talks a lot about that. He also talks about when they got dropped off, come out of an Apache helicopter, a Chinook helicopter, and they just had to leg it, and within 30 seconds, one of his mates gets shot dead.
Yeah.
You do in that situation, actually, you can't stop. You just got to keep going.
No.
And he talks about how you deal with your emotions actually quite a while after the event, and then have to come back to it. And that's quite a powerful thing as well, I guess, even in business.
Yeah.
When shit's hitting the fan, you can't always be personal right there in the moment. Sometimes you just have to make the decisions and then
step back and
then
reassess. Yeah.
So no, it's fascinating, mate. It's a brilliant book. Brilliant book.
I mean, mine's.
I'll have to think of the details on it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to hear the podcast on that. Definitely. But like, mindset is just such a huge thing, and I don't think people pay enough attention to it.
No.
Because, well, we've said before, I think people nowadays are quite soft when it comes to, and I don't think that's their fault as such. I think it's where, I don't know, where they've learned it, or people just don't really talk about how hard life can actually be. And there's been a few times in my life when stuff has just gone bad quickly, and then you like you said, you are just in that situation then, and then you're having to you sort of, well, I went into sort of with my boy when he got meningitis. I just went into robot mode. I think people must have thought I was just some emotionless, horrible person, but I was literally just trying to take each day as it came, and not think too far in the future, not think too far in the past. Just, I'm dealing with this now, and then when something else bad came along, right, shit, that's bad as well. I have to deal with that now, and then just keep going through that the process. And then it was after I got. In fact, it was Tom who picked us up from when we finally got discharged from the hospital about 2 or 3 months later. Oh, I just got home and it just all literally just everything. I was just gone. That was it. I was out for a good day, just trying to regenerate. And people don't prepare you for that sort of heartache and that stress and that. And luckily, I'm quite a resilient person anyway. So I had that in my favour, and so was my missus. She's a very resilient person. But it doesn't matter how resilient you are, shit will take it out of you, and you have to deal with that. Because if you don't deal with it, it will get on top of you, and then there's sort of like, it's like depression. If you don't deal with it and nip it in the bud, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it just gets so much harder then.
Absolutely right, and I think a lot of it though comes back round to this whole thing of what we're saying about control the controllables, and about it too shall pass. But I think sometimes it takes quite a character to be able to take a step back in that moment, and take that mindset, because it can just become too overwhelming. And it's like, for me, all of my anxiety, just like anxiety in general, is only ever our thoughts. It's only ever what we're thinking about in the future, and that ain't fucking happened. It's not happened. So why am I even thinking about everything that hasn't even happened yet? It hasn't planned out. You can't do anything about the past. You can only learn from the past. You can't do anything about the future because it ain't happened. So what is the point? The only moment you've ever got is that moment.
100%.
The other part of it as well, and I listened to someone else, and I've got it. It annoys me. I can't remember who these people are now. But he was asked what they thought success was. So if you ask any normal person, let's say somebody in their 20s, oh, what does success look like? And it will probably be the big house and the fast cars and the posh holidays and stuff. And he said, we got it all wrong. He said, success is all about finding your moment of peace.
Yes.
So what is your moment of peace? Peace could be sat in your favourite armchair with your favourite hot drink. Peace could be going for a walk on the beach. Peace could be making a phone call to a relative. It can be whatever you choose it to be. But surely the success of our day should be about how many times we can experience peace. And just be happy, just be content.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
We're going to get the massive peaks, aren't we? Yeah, when something comes our way and you think, bloody hell, this is amazing. But it's actually, sometimes it's not about being emotionless to it, but maybe just squashing it just a little bit so we don't get too hyped, and then we don't expect that all the time. But also, adversely, the other way as well is like when it's really going bad, we can still take a moment just to try and find those moments of gratification. Like even if I've had a shit day and I'm thinking, oh my God, I haven't got any money, I look around me and I think, I built this fucking house. Like how amazing is that? I've got a comfy bed. I've got food in my tummy. Like there are so many people out there that would do a direct exchange, their life for my life right now. So I cannot handle. I have to show gratitude. And it definitely enables me to be there a lot more presently for myself, for my family, and for those that I want to spend time with.
Awesome.
We've
go on. Sorry, Tom.
We've got a family friend as well as a mum's friend, but they've been really successful with business, like really successful. And we quite often go around and have like a poker night or just catch up and stuff like that. And I remember speaking to him about kind of success and his business and all the toys, gadgets, house, all the rest that he's got and stuff. And he just turned around and instantly, and genuinely means it, it's just your health is your wealth. And that was it. That was literally, that's all he cares about now. And it sounds like, I mean, you've gone that way anyway. If you've. And do you know what I think?
I'm no way near where I would like to be. I still haven't got the balance right. I still have to go out and do my so-called 9 to 5, and I still have to exchange a bit of time for money, which definitely isn't my desire. But I know that it too shall pass. I'm quite relaxed about it, and I think.
You're still growing as well, Gaz. Like you are, this isn't your final point. You're still growing.
No, absolutely, very much so, and I know that, and I know that now I've got strong enough foundations. Like I've got a good relationship with my wife. I've got a good relationship with my boys. I've got the house that I want. I don't desire a bigger house or whatever, and I'm cool with all of that. The next thing that will happen will be another business of something that I hope will grow to a point that the boys can be part of it. At some point, that would be my absolutely ideal, and then they can kind of benefit from it that way, rather than thinking, oh God, I need to have loads of money so then I can I don't know, get them a deposit on a house or something. No, I want to be there for them now, so I can lead them into a business that business then will give them a stepping stone for the rest of their life. Not a house or not anything fancy, but a business. That's my plan in the back of my head. Because I don't quite know what it will look like, but
imagine
that's what the foot golf is doing. That's going to create the stepping stone for that.
Definitely. And the thing is, imagine, like I always say, I wish I knew, and I think anyone sort of our age says this, I wish I knew what I know now back then.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest, like that's my main drive, that's my goal now, is to teach the kids what I know now and really instill it into them. Like, not, I will steer them in the right direction. I'll give them all the information they need, the stuff that I never had, and they will get it. And I'll give them every opportunity to be better than I am at my age now. And that's what I want them to. I'd love them to achieve more. That would be that would be just.
But when you say you'd love them to achieve more, what does more look like?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Just throwing it back at you.
No, it's a good point.
Because I guarantee you that what you offer them now is pretty special. And I know that, and I can tell that because I know what you do and stuff.
Yeah.
I think for me, and the way that I want to do it with my boys, is I just want them to have their boundaries and values so tight that they are educated enough to know what the right decisions are for them, so that they can be the best humans that they want to be.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully find their purpose sooner rather than later, because I hate to say it, but I really think the education system is failing so many kids. So many. There are so many that excel in one area, but they're struggling in something else. But what's the benefit? And anybody can correct me on this, but what's the benefit on bringing your weaknesses up to an okay level? When really, if you're good at something, why not go from good to great rather than from average to good?
Yeah.
Like, I get it that the education system is brilliant for the academics that want to excel and want to be the next doctors or accountants or brain surgeons or whatever it's going to be, and of course we need it.
Yeah, it has a place, definitely.
For someone like me, I never excelled at school because I didn't give a shit for it, really. I kind of tried. I never revised. I flunked my way through university. I got done for plagiarism at uni and nearly got kicked out. I cheated in a finance exam. No, actually nobody knows that, but yeah, I wrote all the answers on a sticky piece of paper, put it in and the examiner came around and said, right, calculator lids, we need all your calculator lids. There's been people cheating. I thought, oh no, what have we done with this calculator? Thankfully, I'd only just stuck this piece of paper in. So I had my jumper and I stuck it onto my wrist and I pulled my sleeve down like that and sat there. And every now and again, I'd look at my sleeve. And when I was done, I scrunched it up, stuck it under my armpit, and then it was like that for the rest of it. My 2-hour exam took me about 45 minutes and I got like 90% on the third attempt because I cheated.
You're a whiz kid.
The first thing about that was actually then removing the piece of paper from under my armpit because it was caught in all my hairs that night. But it's just one of those. I know exams and stuff at uni have changed as well now, but I think the lesson for me is that you don't need to know everything in that moment, as long as you know somebody else that can help you out.
Yeah.
I don't know everything about business, but I've got a pretty good accountant that leads the way on it.
Yeah.
I just need to widen my network now.
Yeah.
That will then put me in a better place for going forward when I do try and get the next business that's going to be bigger and better than what the foot golf is.
100%. I mean, the guy that Tom spoke about just a second ago, where we go play poker with, again, he's done really well in business, like really well. And I said to him, what's the main thing that like sort of got you to where you are now? And he just said schmoozing. Schmooze with the right people and be able to schmooze, and it will get you places. He says, like, you've obviously got to be good and know what you're doing with to a certain extent, but if you know the right people and you get in with the right circles and the right network, your chances of success are so much more.
Well, it goes to that saying, doesn't it? Your net worth is your network.
Yeah.
Just that. So
I've just been doing some decorating and renovation work on a place not far from me. They bought it for £1 million. They probably spent £300,000 doing it up. And I said to them, I said, well, at the end of this, like, what's your plans? And they said, well, we've got a flat somewhere and we're going to be selling it and stuff. I said, well, what are you going to do with that money? He said, well, we'll probably buy somewhere more local, more down this way. I said, okay. I said, well, would you be interested in putting a proportion of money into a bit of a joint venture on something? I said, because I know a few other people that have got a couple of quid and they don't want to go off and do their own thing. I said, but maybe if there's 3 or 4 of us, I said, I'll put my knowledge and experience and get me tools out the van. And I said, but with your money and someone else's money, maybe we could do something together. I said, I never thought of that. He said, I'm well up for that.
Awesome.
So through something as simple as wielding a paintbrush and making their house look beautiful, they now trust me because they know my character.
Yep.
They know that I vacuum after myself when I close the gate on the way out, and I'm polite. I take my shoes off.
And
All
you
those
don't drink
very
while you
simple
paint,
things.
which is very rare for a painter and
Yeah.
decorator.
Yeah, right. It's literally, it's all the small things
Yeah.
that make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
And then having the confidence to have the conversations with those that have got more.
Yeah.
Or have got the experience of being further and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always comes down to the small things. Do the small things well, and the big things follow afterwards. But just be confident with your abilities and stuff as well. Really.
So good.
It's, but I just think there's too many people out there that are not doing actually what they would really like to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Really. And I think the sooner that people can break away from the social norms and get out of the matrix, just be your own person and be your own boss. And the rest of life, it will fall into place, and the opportunities come so much easier then, I think.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you need to be sure of when you go and do that is make sure that you've got a good personal network. Because I kept myself to myself. Whilst I've got a lot of friends and stuff around here, they were already sorted and making their money. I only went self-employed when I was 30, so I think that's pretty late to the show for those that want to get on the tools and stuff. But the sooner you can make your money with good people around you, that's the way to get started on it.
Definitely.
And it doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to be revolutionary. Just get the idea of making your own money.
Yeah. So looking back on, because you've actually had quite a good career in terms of the different jobs you've had, and I assume they've been fairly well paid jobs, because they seem to be quite high up in what you've done.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
It's only a number, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it
thought,
is, yeah.
Do you know what? I thought I was a dog with 2 dicks when I could go and choose my company car. So I had a BMW 1 Series M Sport, all maxed out, all the bells and whistles, all the extras I could possibly get on it. And I thought, yeah, look at this. Yeah, I've made it in life.
Yeah.
And I was fully on, I don't know, 30k a year with a company car and a few other little perks and stuff. I drove that car for 2 weeks. It gave me shin splints because the clutch was so bloody stiff. I resented it from that moment onwards. And I soon realised that actually they've got one up on me, because there I was leaving my house at like 4 o'clock in the morning to go to Weymouth to get a ferry over to Guernsey and Jersey, staying out of a hotel. I was thinking, actually, no, this is rubbish. So I didn't hang around long enough for any of the bonuses and stuff. But yeah, it paid all right, like, and there was naturally the opportunity to get to the next stage and the next stage. But
my point is, do you wish you'd gone self-employed sooner then, or do you? Oh
yeah.
You do wish you'd gone self-employed sooner.
Yeah, and I wish I would have understood the numbers side of things a lot better, because I think there's a lot about money I don't understand.
It's designed that way though, guys. It's designed in such a hard way to understand, so the majority of people just go,
yeah,
fuck it, I won't learn about it.
And they live to their paycheck, and they go, oh, we got all this money at the start of the month, and then they can afford that, whatever it is, either the mortgage and the car and the food and whatever else, and at the end of the month, what have they got? Nothing.
Yeah.
And they go again, and they rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and I've been there, 100%. I've been there before.
Yeah, I've been there.
Younger.
Yeah, and you always get that one thing where somebody says, oh, go on, you're going to come out tonight? And you go, I ain't got any money. And you go, doesn't matter, I've got the credit card or I've got the overdraft or whatever.
Mate, me and Tom, this is no lie now, me and Tom, this is how stupid we were when it come to money. This is how dumb we were when it come to money. We went round, we went to a McDonald's drive-thru, didn't we, Tom? And we got what we wanted, but we were so scared that it wouldn't go through on our card because we knew we had barely anything on it. So what the fuck are we going through a drive-through McDonald's? And two, like, that's how bad things were. Like, we had no money in our account, and I remember those days. And again, you learn from your failures. That was until I took ownership of, it's my fault I'm in this position, not everyone else's. I was never going to change. And I think fuck I did. And I think, fortunately, I think I've done that at quite an early-ish age to get me to where I am now. And I am actually quite happy and comfortable with where I am, even though I do have that desire to get a bit more, because I don't know. Do you think you ever get to a point where you're just, that's it, it's success, like you've reached it, stop? I mean, it sounds like you have, because you've got fulfillment, you've managed to get that, but then everyone's different. So what if someone's fulfillment is to actually know, I want a big fucking house and a Lamborghini? What if that is their fulfillment? Like, genuinely.
Best of luck, isn't it? Yeah. There's nobody should turn around and say, "Oh no, that's not right." I just say, "Well, why? Like, what is that going to give you any more of?"
Yeah.
It might just be that they haven't truly understood what gratification and fulfillment is. If you can get to your point of feeling really fulfilled with the basics, everything else is that additional thing. And I'm sure it's bloody great fun then. But how many people do you know that actually make it and then actually that's not what they wanted? It's like, let's say it's like, let's say, I don't know, I pick up my running shoes again and I think, right, I'm gonna train for that marathon, and it takes me 6 months, 8 months to train for the marathon, and then I run it and I complete it. Well, then what? Often a lot of people say that the success and the joy and the pleasure and everything isn't on that end result. It's actually on the journey that takes you to that point.
Yeah.
So it's like you've almost just got to keep on going and going and going and going with that purpose in mind. I think that if I ever got to a place of having plenty of money, I'd like to share it a little bit. I'd like to do something with meaning. It's a little bit like that Simon Squibb now. Simon Squibb made all his money, and now he's actually encouraging other people to make their own money and make better choices and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a commendable thing. I think that's mega. So he's not taking a penny from anybody. Only social media. He's just going out there and showing actually how powerful that is.
But then he gives that money back as well, doesn't he? The social media money. He gives people 50 quid. Go on, start your own business. Like, gives them that little push.
Yeah. It's fascinating when he goes to speak to people on the street, and he says, "Would you start a business, or what would it be?" It's amazing how many people say yes, and then how many say no, and why they say no.
Yeah.
They think that actually being in a job and doing the 9 to 5, that's security. In the modern world, it ain't security at all.
No chance.
I personally think if I can show my boys how to make a bit of money with their hands, all right, as long as they've still got 2 hands, they can always make money. Like, no matter what happens to me in my businesses, I can always turn back around to picking the tools up and paying the bills.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for just doing the basics at the start. I think, though, you kind of briefly touched on it, Chris, saying about some of society is kind of a little bit soft, and I know I've previously spoken to you about it, but I think social media, we only ever see people's best bits, and we see some very successful young people, which is brilliant, and they're using the tools that they've been shown at a young age. And maybe I'm a little bit envious of that. Maybe I wish I'd have been that bloody switched on when I was their age.
Yeah.
But that's not a true reflection of what life is going to throw at you. I think you've really got to push that to one side and just find your purpose and find that platform that enables you to be the best that you can be. The rest of it can come in the fullness of time, but not ultimately benchmark yourself against following the people that you have no connection with.
Yeah. And
you have no relationship with.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually when shit hits the fan, it's when you realise what is important, if you know what I mean. So like I said, with my boy, when shit hit the fan there, I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about money. I wasn't thinking about business. I was thinking about my boy, solely my boy. But to the flip of that, I was in a fortunate enough position that I had money that I didn't have to work for those 3 months, if you know what I mean. And I try to keep my finger on the pulse a bit, and there's a lot of people that wouldn't be as fortunate in that situation. And I think that's where I get my drive for more money, because
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a bit of a
Yeah.
it's a bit of a juggling act,
yeah.
and I can get too focused on that get my businesses going, get that money, get the cash flow in. But like I said, sometimes that's the
Yeah.
detachment of my family.
It's really interesting to say that as well, because maybe my stumble in life in general has been almost the other way, in the sense that I knew that if shit hit the fan for me, that I could call on a couple of other people that would have my back, so be it my mum and dad or my mother and father-in-law or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that, having that, whilst as amazing as that is, that safety net, I don't know, maybe I just kind of thought of that too quickly. Not that I've ever drawn on that.
No, and I
Never
think
knocked on the door and said, "Oh my God, I really need your money. I'm struggling. I've
Yeah.
messed up, whatever." I've always tried to take ownership, but maybe just knowing that it was there was maybe, don't know.
I mean,
Stop me thinking now.
Don't get me wrong. Like going back to my point, I've had family members stepped up massively for me during that time, financially and through and just mentally as well. And the same with I've got a really good couple of friends, and they were fantastic throughout the whole thing. And they really helped me out big time. So I did have those people around me. And like you said, I knew I could draw on them if I needed to. So, say I didn't have that money backed up, I could draw on them, and I knew that. But there's a certain part of me, and I don't know what it is, but I begrudge. I feel like I'm putting my problems on other people if I was to ask for that money. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's a pride or an ego thing, or but
I think it's
I
just a
struggle with that
masculine
hard.
thing. Yeah, it's a masculine thing. It's a dad thing. It's a
Yeah.
I get it. But I think maybe then your position on it all is maybe because if that situation were to ever come up with any of your loved ones, you'd like to be in a position to be able to pay that forward as well.
Christ,
which I think that speaks volumes. Yeah. That speaks volumes about you as a character and your values and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such an awesome way to be as well, isn't it? Really, to know that somebody's had your back, and at some point you can go, do you know what? I've got your back as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Such a powerful meaning to life in general. So yeah, I think
surround yourself with good people, and it means a lot. That does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of stuff that kids soon realise how powerful that is, and that's the bit that we're carrying forward. So when you were saying about you want your kids to do more, well, they will soon realise actually what you've had to deal with, and then how you paid it forward, and how you're educating them and stuff as well. Mate, they're going to be so well grounded.
That was such a good question, though. What is more? And it is because I don't think I've ever actually sat down and thought about it.
But I think about it quite a bit, really.
Yeah, that's something I need. That's something I do need to sit down and think about. What is more? Because I'm pushing for something that, and I pride myself on pinpointing my life goals and things like that. But that's one thing I haven't actually looked at properly.
Yeah. So I heard something again the other day that said about we never actually own anything. I was like, what do you mean never own anything? Of course we do. We go out and you actually buy it with cash. When you properly think about it, you have to exchange something to be able to get that money, to then be able to go and buy that something. So let's just say, I don't know, buy a pair of trainers. 150 quid, smashing pair of trainers, best trainers you've ever had, really super comfy. Well, before you know it, you've walked through dog shit. Before you know it, you play football with the kids, you've got grass stains all over them. Yeah. Before you know it, you then worn them on site and they get covered in cement or whatever else it's going to be. And before you know it, you chuck them in the bin. So everything is borrowed. Everything that we actually properly own is borrowed. Even like this house that I'm in. Well, I don't actually own it because the bloody bank owns it because I've got a mortgage on it.
Yeah.
But the only thing we truly own is that moment. Is that single moment in time. That's the only thing you ever own.
Yeah, that's massive.
For me, I was like, even Tyson Fury was talking about it, about living in that moment and owning that moment. And I thought, oh my God, this is so bloody true.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I don't click the checkout button when I've got 250 quid's worth of clothes in the basket, because it doesn't mean anything to me. No. It doesn't mean nothing to me at all.
No.
There's another guy, a fascinating book. It's about 11 hours on Audible, by Mo Gawdat. Mo Gawdat was the head of Google X however many years ago, and he had mega amount of money. He was a mega trader. He had every single possible car you could ever dream of. He had everything. He had a son and a daughter, and his son Ali sadly passed, I think, when he was 21, and he passed for a routine appendicitis operation. I think the surgeon made an error or something like that, and he passed away. And now Mo has kind of written this book, Sold for Happy, because it was his commitment to his boy Ali to try and help 1 billion people, I think it was, be happy. And it was understanding exactly what happiness was all about and stuff. And I tell you what, that's a massive eye opener as well.
That sounds like a really good one.
Yeah, a lot of it he talks about. He had everything, but all he wanted was his boy.
Yeah.
All he wanted was just his boy. Apparently, his boy was so incredibly inspirational. Even though he had young years on him, he was just had such wisdom and stuff. And Mo is now talking about this really openly. Mo also talks about love and about how you don't just fall in love with something or someone once. There's often many stages of love.
Yeah.
And that, I thought that was really interesting, because he talks about it with relationship with his wife, or now ex-wife, that he first fell in love when he saw her, and then when they get engaged, and then when they got married, and then when he had their first child, and then second child, and then something else. So there's all these different events of which you fall in love with. I thought that was a really, really profound
That's true
kind
as
of
well,
message
yeah.
in there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it all came down to this whole thing of, he said, I had everything, but I had nothing because I just didn't have my boy, my wisdom and stuff. And I tell you what, mate, I was running at the time over the cliffs over towards Sidmouth. I had bloody tears down my face when he was talking about his boy.
Yeah.
And I, geez, man.
Cuts deep,
So, yeah,
especially
this-
when you're a dad. You just nutter like that. You can empathise with that, can't you? It's just horrific, but
Yeah.
and that is true. That's still. Well, for me, my family is my life. That's my driving force. I never really had direction before because I was just a little shit sometimes when I was growing up. I suppose we all are, but I certainly didn't have direction. Now I've got direction. I've got purpose. I've got focus, and it's nice. My life's a lot more stable now than it was back then. Definitely.
So if money were no object, what would you do right now? To both of you, what would you choose to do, and how would you spend your time?
The first thing that comes to my
Okay.
thought is I'd take my family away on a really nice hot holiday because I know that's something that they want, and I'd just spend my time with my boys and yeah, I'd do that. That was the first thing that comes to my head.
So what would you do?
To buy a chalet and run a ski school.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, 100%.
I love the whole thing of like being able to impact somebody's day in a positive way. It's a little bit like with the foot golf. Like I can be sat there on a picnic bench and just hear a family kicking the ball and having a laugh and stuff. And I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, I used to do a bit of skiing and stuff many years back when I lived in Basingstoke. I was a dry slope instructor up at Bracknell.
No way!
Yeah.
Man, is there anything you haven't done, Gaz?
Illegal drugs.
Yeah.
I sold illegal drugs, but I haven't sold legal drugs, and I haven't got any OnlyFans page yet, but I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, I like that. I'll be your first sub, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I used to love like teaching the little kids and stuff and seeing their progress and what have you. I think there's something to be said about being able to support somebody that then they go on to do awesome things.
Yeah, it's a really, really good feeling.
It is, isn't it? That's what it should be about ultimately.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But that's why I love what you guys are doing as well with this Wealth Academy, because we're all coming at it from different directions. We've all got different backgrounds. And yes, it's about making a couple of extra quid, but I think it's also about finding the meaning behind that as well.
It's also showing, because I just want to show people how fucking hard things are. It's not easy. Stop listening to the influencers that are saying, oh yeah, look, I've just made 50 billion. No, it is not easy, and it is hard, and that's okay.
Yeah. The thing that really pisses me off about all of that more than anything, it's the way they hype it up, and they're sat there with the Lambo and with the whatever else. If you've got it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Simon Squibb doesn't do that though, does he?
No.
But Siam doesn't do that.
No, Siam doesn't.
James Sinclair doesn't do that.
No.
So actually, when I look at influences in a really unique way, and I find it fascinating because I've got nieces and nephews, kind of 18 to 21, and I mean, I've been influenced by some of those influences in the Lambo because that's what I thought I wanted and needed.
Yeah.
But God knows what they're. Bless you.
Sorry, I was coughing.
But God knows what's going through their head and how they're feeling about stuff and just life in general. But no, I would really like to be in a position where I can influence people with my time and my experience.
Yeah.
And if I make money, that's fine, but that's not the thing I'm going to put on anybody.
No.
I just want to show people, much like you, Chris, to be honest, if people have been there for you in the past, I want to be in a position to pay it forward as well.
Yeah. Well, I love speaking with you.
I'll off quickly.
Okay, mate. Have a good time.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure
Catch you shortly. Cheers, man.
Hearing it back as well.
Yeah, sweet. All right, mate. See you later. Bye.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, no, I love speaking with you. Like our private chats and things like that. We haven't actually done it for a while, have we?
No.
But again, that's life. It just
gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does. It's annoying. But whenever we talk, I always come back and I feel good. You know, like you've got such a natural flair of just getting perspective right, if you know what I mean. Like, and I suppose people's perspectives are going to be different anyway. But and possibly it's because we're quite similar anyway. I look up to you and I think, you know what, I love how you're successful to me, 100%. Like, you are a successful person, because you really do have it on a good balance. You are doing well in business, because your business is above breaking even. You're doing well. Your family life is incredible. It's something that I want. Like that time with my kids that you've got. I'm striving for that now. That's something I want, and I love that about you. And you do put it into perspective. Your health side of things, the way you're constantly staying positive with things, like stuff. Just because you're a positive person doesn't mean shit doesn't get on top of you or piss you off, but you don't dwell on it. You push through that, and I love that. I think it's inspirational. It's brilliant.
Right. But I've still got a long way to go. I only feel like I'm just right at the start of it all, to be honest. But maybe
we all do, Des.
Yeah, but maybe I just give myself a hard time all the time.
Yeah.
Which is difficult because I don't want to come across with having like a real sexist mindset on stuff, but I can't help but feel that sometimes us blokes do have it tough, and we often don't create a platform where we talk about it.
Yeah.
Where we talk about what we think is a struggle, but actually others might see that as a real strength.
Yeah.
So I think our perspective on things can change quite a lot. Like, I don't know. It's not easy being a bloke when you see lots of other families all around you and successful people. You can't help but feel as a bloke that you are falling short of a lot of things that
100%, yeah,
your family members would desire and would like.
Yeah.
And it often doesn't fall on the shoulders of the women or the mums or whatever to provide the bigger house or the faster car or the everything else that people perceive is where happiness lies or where fulfillment lies. So not only am I trying to understand that for myself and better myself and make more money, I am really digging my heels in because I don't want to do the shit that I don't like.
Yeah.
But life shouldn't be like that. There was again something else I've listened to. I listened to so much crap.
But it's good though. It's not crap though, is it? It's good. It's good stuff that you're listening to.
It is good. But it might have even been Jordan Peterson that said we have two lives. And the time that we realise, no, what was it now? Yeah, we've got two lives, but we only realise we have one when we realise that. Oh God, I've got that totally wrong now, haven't I?
You'll have to go through your notes, Gaz, and find it.
Yeah, it's probably on there somewhere.
I bet it is.
Having two lives, but the second one starts when we realise we've only got one. That's it. It's something like that.
Yeah.
And it's true because we think we're all immortal, but from the moment we are born, we're going to bloody die. So why the fuck are we doing half the stuff that we do?
Yeah.
It's because we're trying to pay for all the things that actually we don't want or we don't need.
And don't matter yet.
Kind of going into that. But yeah, it's fascinating. And I know that we've got to just get on with a lot of stuff. We always have to do things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
but I keep reminding myself, it too shall pass.
Yeah.
And it might be that.
If-
It might be that, I don't know, that family dinner that you don't want to go to, or
Yeah.
it might be that horrible business meeting, or it might be that, I don't know, conflict with a neighbour. It could be anything, but you've got to grin and bear it. But I think once you've got yourself grounded well enough, like, it gets more exciting with the opportunities that are ahead of you, for sure.
100%.
For sure.
It's awesome,
Mate,
man. Listen,
I just realised we've been chatting for over an hour and a half.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Do you remember when I said we'll probably go to an hour? But if it's less, it doesn't matter.
Oh, mate.
But I know, to be honest with you, I had an inkling it would go over because I do love talking to you. So, but yeah, we better call it here now. But
Thanks so
Gaz, look, honestly, man, thank you so much for coming on and having a talk.
Mate, no, I appreciate your time as well. As
No,
always.
it's brilliant, and I love these talks anyway. We definitely should do it again sometime. Should have a private one. It's cool. It's cool talking to you, man.
Mate, you too. It's good to see that pretty face of yours again.
Stop flirting. No, cheers for that.